So first, we're going to talk about understanding the competitive landscape. So the first thing you need to know when looking at the competitive landscape is who is currently ranking for your top keywords. So looking at keyword, like doing keyword research, for example, can tell you a lot more about the environment than just about your own ranks. So usually we do keyword research, we're sort of self-focused. We're thinking about, okay, well, what are we doing here or doing there? But if we can actually look at who the winners are already, we can start to have a pretty good idea of what Google's looking for, at least up to this point, to give a high ranking. So generally going through and taking your keywords that you're most interested in, these are the ones that you feel both that would contribute the most to your business, but also the ones that have the best combination of any pre-existing traction plus low difficulty scores, if you use something like Moz to evaluate that, and decent search volume. So if you have a mix of those things and these seem like good keywords, making a list of them obviously is important, and then running keyword research and seeing like where we should emphasize SEO optimization and so forth is good. But we also want to see who are the #1 ranking results for those different terms. And if we can create a list of those winners, it'll be a pretty useful strategy for us to then go through and analyze. We'll talk a little bit about that analysis in more detail momentarily. But to go through and analyze those pages and sort of figure out what a good strategy might actually be. One sort of way of thinking about this in terms of the way we're framing the environment is to think about emulating these people who are doing very well until you're highly competitive with them. And once you're highly competitive with them, then you can start to explore different ideas and new strategies to try to surpass them. But you might as well take what Google's giving you at the beginning, which is a bunch of clear ideas as to what they're looking for, who they, what kind of answers they think are good or correct, and sort of playing ball with them until you're competitive, and then working on surpassing. The other thing to sort of ask ourselves is, what does an opportunity look like? So I like to say you can use both your metrics and you can use your eyeballs to look at what good opportunities are. At the end of the day, Google is trying to optimize for a good answer to a query, finding a good solution to someone's problem. So if you go to one of those sites on the list we made a moment ago, and it just doesn't have a very good user experience, the site doesn't look very clean, it's a little bit tricky to find your information, it's a little uncomfortable, maybe the content's not extremely engaging or dynamic, that would actually indicate a pretty decent opportunity using the eyeball test, which is to say that Google probably wants something better than that to give to its users. It just doesn't know where it is or doesn't have it yet. So that's a decent opportunity. Also, if you look at content and it's top-ranking content and it's outdated, if something are discussing or relying on technologies that are no longer at the forefront of the market, this is something that is a good opportunity for you to potentially outrank them. One area where you can actually maybe jump a bunch of ranks and be pretty sneaky on in terms of opportunities is looking at featured snippets. If for your term there is not a featured snippet, optimizing your work, optimizing your pages surrounding that term to try to create featured snippet content, of a certain length, could be a great way to jump. So if you don't know what a featured snippet is, I've got the featured snippet for featured snippets on the right, which is basically that box that stands out that Google has basically started to promote these snippets as, your best likely answer to your question, which actually can sometimes jump ranking even higher. You can also do it for infographic images and things like that. So a good opportunity is one where obviously we have the metrics that we discussed a moment ago. We've got low difficulty score, high search volume, strong relevance, and maybe any pre-existing traction. But you also have maybe some visual tests looking at whether or not the site is actually delivering the content that you think it should be, as well as if there's a snippet opportunity, that's a good chance to be competitive and